Greetings, I'm Michael Quinn Patton, here to host a conversation with Rob Vandenberg on his book, Evidence for Hope, subtitled The Emerging Sustainability Revolution. Rob brings extensive experience in the field of evaluation to bear, and he's pulled together his knowledge and experience in this important book. I asked Rob to introduce himself and then to give us an overview of the book. If you already know Rob's extensive and impressive credentials, or otherwise want to skip to the overview of the book, skip ahead to the 3-minute mark on the video.
Well, yes, started my career at the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I came relatively late to evaluation, and all in all, I think I have 25 years or so, which is nothing compared to what you have, Michael. I love to move into evaluation. I was thrilled to work in evaluation and to understand better what happened in the world around us. And I saw evaluation as a very good tool to better understand our reality. At the Global Environment Facility, where I helped set up the independent evaluation office.
Context for appreciating the deep experience and knowledge Rob brings to this book, I'm including a brief excerpt from his time at the Global Evaluation Facility.
Global Environment Facility is the largest public funder of support to developing countries to help them to deal with climate change, loss of biodiversity, and several other environmental issues. And the evaluation office of the Global Environment Facility is an independent institute or organization that evaluates what's happening in the GF and basically tries to provide an objective picture on the results, the achievements, the difficulties, the processes that are happening in the Global Environment Facility. And yes, I've followed that up with time as president of IDEAS. And at the same time, I was a visiting professor at King's College London, initiating a master's course on evaluating sustainable development. So lots of the ideas that I developed there are to be found in the book. Okay. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to introduce the book Evidence for Hope, The Emerging Sustainability Revolution. And let me go into what's discussed in the book. And first of all, we need to agree on evidence. This is the starting 3 chapters of the book that deal with how evidence is defined, how evidence is generally understood to be facts and data, but we need to broaden our understanding. My plea is that especially sustainability is difficult to catch in facts and data, as it is a relationship issue. And for this reason, I propose that evidence is to be considered as the reasoned judgment of observations, explanations, and expectations. The issue is that many people believe that evidence equals facts and data, but it's really the reasoning that we have about evidence that establishes in our mind whether something is evident.
One of the issues you address in the book is the proliferation of conspiracy theories, misinformation, disinformation, and how reasoning can ultimately combat and refute these conspiracy theories. Talk about that.
My proposal in the book is that we start reasoning about evidence. And when we start reasoning about evidence, we will find that the conspiracy theories will have very shallow reasoning that is not connected to what we observe in reality. And so they will be exposed to it. And we will know that their evidence is not real evidence, because they will be countered by reality, which is not according to their expectations.
I've been reading the book. I was impressed with your consistent emphasis on the importance of reasoning. And it evoked for me Michael Scriven's original writing. Scriven, for our viewers, was one of the founders of the field of evaluation, a philosopher, thought leader in evaluation. I thought I would include here to reinforce the importance of your update about applying reasoning to issues of sustainability, Michael Scriven's original statement about the critical importance of reasoning. It reinforces, I think, the importance that you place on reasoning throughout the book. Here's Scriven. Reasoning is the only ability that makes it possible for humans to rule the earth and to ruin it. All other alleged distinctions between us and the other life forms on the planet turn out to be illusory.
And the second part of the book, or let's say the why this is so important, is that we need to agree on sustainability. And what is evidence on sustainability? First of all, we need to identify that almost nothing on Earth so far was sustainable. And for human societies, social exclusion was the norm and slavery accepted worldwide. And after 1492, when Columbus visited the Bahamas, Western Europe was unleashed on the world, focusing on exploitative trade and colonialism. And this became somewhat worse when the Industrial Revolution happened from 1760 onwards, because it cemented exploitative relations and led to empire building. And these empires, by the way, also were not sustainable and had to be abandoned. Our current world is characterized by overusing the resources of Earth and a wide range of sustainability crises. In order to understand this, we need to agree on causality and systems. And unfortunately, the global West introduced reductionist perspectives on science to the world. To study something, it had to be cut off from the rest of the world in isolation. And this would lead to discovery of linear, simple causality, A causing B. But everything is connected, and simple causality does not exist. Instead, we have composed and complex causality as we see in systems. The simple linear perspective has led to overlooking how the social, economic, and environmental domains are related. So let us have a look at that. You have the social domain, the economic domain, and the environmental domain as defined in Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals that have been agreed between all nations. Unfortunately, in actual practice, this at the moment doesn't seem to be something that we can really work on, but we need to. The social domain actually supports the economic domain. The economic domain just picks from the social domain what it needs, and that's it. And the same from the environmental domain. The environmental domain also supports the economic domain. And if we look at what this means in the environmental domain, then we see that we are breaking through planetary boundaries. And the 2023 update to the planetary boundaries show that this is cause for concern. This cannot go on. In itself, this is unsustainability pictured. If you use up the resources that are there and they will not regenerate, then we are in a very difficult situation.
And just to insert an update, since you've written the book, and at the time of this interview, the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research has announced that Earth is on the brink of breaching a seventh of 9 planetary boundaries that support life. Ocean acidification is approaching a critical threshold.
So one of the reasons why this is so difficult is that the social domain, the economic domain, and the environmental domain really are not that interconnected at the moment. The economic domain takes decisions on the social domain and the environmental domain that are undermining our sustainability. And what we should do is we should bring these together. And what happens should be related. We should look at this from a systems perspective and look at the relationships and not accept that these relationships are not important.
You use introduced in the book has become quite important over the last couple of years, and your writing anticipates that, and that is the intersection of the social, the economic, and the environmental, which has come to be called evaluation at the nexus. The ways in which those systems interplay and are interdependent is very well articulated in the book, and that is one of the conceptual challenges, it seems to me, that you offer for evaluation, which is so very much siloed that we need, in fact, to be able to do systems work and sustainability work, evaluate at the nexus of that intersection of economic, social, and environmental.
That uses all the right terminology and is focusing on relationships rather than on A causing B. And it's a growing area for many evaluators. In order for evaluation to support these processes, we need to step a little bit back and discuss this from a perspective of systems trajectories. Where are they heading? How can we understand them? What can we do that would make these systems move in the right direction? And this is what is happening in the world. And we should better understand this.
One of the things that most impresses me about the book is the careful attention to how and why language matters in evaluation, and evoked for me this New Directions volume edited by Rodney Hobson on that very topic. The terms we use, the concepts, the ways that things are defined, occupies a great deal of attention in the book, and it's worth savoring that attention to words as part of dealing with how we understand sustainability and hope. Here's a part of our conversation about that. One of the things, Rob, that impressed me about the book was the careful attention you've given to the importance of language, terminology, concepts, and definitions for us to deal with these issues. And much of the book deals with the controversies around language, like what is evidence and the nature of evidence. You deal with causality, with complexity, with criteria, with making judgments, with independence, with the ways and with sustainability itself, the different meanings of that, and that in order to have meaningful conversations and take action on these issues, we do need to have some common understandings. And so a good bit of the book is laying the groundwork then for your experience over the years with how concepts have changed in their meaning, how we talk to each other, how the evaluation field and research fields sometimes use language different, what constitutes science, what constitutes evaluation. And I think people will find great value in having your expertise and experience address these different kinds of definitional issues.
Well, thank you very much for those observations. These concepts and ideas, they all are part of our worldviews. And the worldviews are tend to be sacrosanct. I mean, you have a certain worldview, and this is your strong belief. But I note also that these worldviews change over time, and that it is possible to shift in understanding of reality. And sometimes the shifting goes in a direction that we don't like, as is currently happening in the US and with far-right movements in Europe and all over the world, actually. But we don't need to be pessimistic in this regard. We can change our worldviews, and we need to. So, and this indeed is an important message also of the book. And I would say that your book on blue marble evaluation has also been an important building stone for evaluators who want to address this. And I applaud your book, especially for the fact that you focused on principles rather than on defined criteria or defined pathways that had to be followed, or exactly the way that evaluations have to be done.
You actually lay out 3 principles for sustainability, accountability, transparency, and countervailing power as essential for transformational thinking and evaluation, and the interconnection among those principles.
Yes, and I felt that this would help indeed, and so this is why I promote this, and especially the countervailing power is going to be enormously important in times of stress like we have now. So can I bring some good news then as well? Is there indeed evidence for hope? Well, let's start off with the bad news, that energy and money move humanity more than the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. We know that more than 70% of the world's population believes that climate change is happening, but actually energy and money are more important to them, and they will give up on climate change because apparently fossil fuels are still the rage. But the good news is that renewable energy is becoming cheaper than fossil fuels. And even better news, renewable energy is local and can be democratized. There are 4 tipping points towards sustainability within reach at the moment: solar power, wind power, electric cars, and batteries to store energy. So these seem to be just a few elements, but they are key elements that will move the world. Combine these, and more upcoming tipping points will lead to the third energy revolution. I was inspired by geographical scientist Lewis and Maslin to phrase it like this: there is an abundance of sustainable energy. The sun provides the annual energy that humanity and the planet need in 1.5 hours. And actually, the sun will run out of this energy in about 5 billion years. Fossil fuels will run out of fossil fuels if we continue as we do now, in 35 years. That is rather a lot of difference. Now, the core of Earth is just as hot as the surface of the sun. It is just that at the moment we do not yet know how to harvest that safely, but we will. This is another tipping point that is emerging that will emerge at a certain moment. Now, let's go to some of the other energy sources. Wind energy was mentioned as a tipping point. It will overtake coal as the largest generator of electricity in the very near future. So let us make sure that we do not misuse this opportunity. And please remember that renewable energies do not require an OPEC. They do not require billionaires or major companies like Exxon. So we will be working towards a just planet. Money tells us how the future will be shaped. Stocks of fossil fuel companies are stagnant and no longer follow the stock index. And this comes just from The Economist, published on the 1st of November 2024. The big challenge is to work towards a new world with social justice and a healthy relationship between economies and the environment. And then, as a last contribution in this debate, and this follows up on the book, but it's not in the book, the energy investment trends that the International Energy Agency has just reported on. The world now invests almost twice as much in clean energy as it does in fossil fuels. Households have contributed to more than 40% of the increase in investments in clean energy spending since 2016. Households and remote villages and whatever, local communities will become the largest investors in clean energy. And an affordable transitioning away from fossil fuels requires a further rebalancing of investments, especially in the global south, with the exception of China. That is, they are the world leader on investing in clean energy. Additional and affordable financing needs to be promoted. The multilateral banks could play a role. And currently they provide 1% of the funds, which is negligible. So this actually concludes my short presentation of the book. Michael, over to you.
Well, let me close with appreciation for the book and its importance and marshaling evidence, valuing evidence, bringing the evaluation perspective and reasoning to bear on these difficult issues, and concluding with a sense of hope and possibility, which we don't always see so much of. I thought I would close with one of the quotes that struck me from the book. You say, quote, "If we each just contribute what we can contribute, this will be sufficient for the world to change." Close quote. So you end up being hopeful both about the big systems trajectories, but about the contribution that each one of us can make in our own worlds and in our own positions. And that is part of what would marshal hope. The connection between the individual and those macro trends ends up being another form of nexus. Thank you, Rob, for the book. Thank you for your optimism and your many years of service and pulling it together in this book. I hope it gets a wide readership. And I'm going to include here at the end of the video the table of contents for people to be able to see what the issues are that you're addressing. Congratulations on an important contribution.
Thank you very much, Michael. Really appreciate it.